All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for a Zoom with Stan Drayton. As always, please raise your hand and I'll unmute you. We'll start with Rich Carcella.
Thanks, Paul. Good morning, Stan. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. How would you assess Nick's progress in the first three games, and where is he in on some of the things that you had wanted to work on with him beginning in the spring?
Yeah, so I think what you're seeing right now is you're seeing a really good football player that is processing a little bit too much, maybe overthinking it a little bit too much. We really did attack the off season with throwing more on this plate from a learning standpoint in terms of just processing defenses, being able to anticipate things. um, while playing full speed, and that takes a little bit of time. He is on track. He really is. He's getting ready to explode. I just think that, the things that we had to work on, don't want to say consternated him, but, it is very, very normal when you go from, playing with on pure instincts and playing, and understanding what's going on, trying to anticipate things before they happen, and I think that's what we saw in Nick, even though we still have some really good production from him. But I think he's thinking a little bit too much early in the season, and I think it's coming to a point where he's ready to cut it loose. So he's had a really good couple of weeks of practice. I mean, the bye week came with good timing. We were able to really still dig into some things. From a just a vision standpoint and a defensive understanding standpoint in the off week, and he is playing fast now. So, I think he's on track.
Otter Snyder.
Hi, Stan, appreciate your time this morning. How would you kind of evaluate how Kron has done through non-conference play and what maybe has impressed or surprised you about the level that he's playing at?
Well, Tron is a guy who right now is, instinctively doing a lot of great things, making people miss that he has a real keen ability to anticipate, and he's a very smart football player. He is one right now who has taken the off season and has put it into action very quickly. Um, so I'm really, happy with where he is right now. I still think that there's, plenty of upside for him as we go through the season. He will continue to get better, but I've just been really impressed with, the amount of touches that he's had and the productions that he's putting forward, but he has this ability to make people miss right now, which is at a high level right now that is, making him an explosive ball carrier. So he's right on track. It's not just carrying the football. I know everybody, likes the sexy look when you see a running back carrying the football. That's what running backs do. But, take a look at his film and watch him in protection. He's blocking his butt off. I mean, he is identifying pressure before the snap. I mean, there's clips of him, blocking safeties who are triggering from 10 yards past the line, from the line of scrimmage, and he's already in the line of scrimmage waiting for those guys to get there. Those are the kind of things that are going to transpire to him being a very well-rounded running back, and those are the things that I'm excited about with Nick, with Fat right now. Excuse me.
Bob Founders.
Stan, nice to talk to you again.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. Stan, you led me right into my question. My question was going to be about pass protection, not only with Katron, but with Nick. But just to build on what you said, when you evaluate both of them, how big of a deal is that, especially with a big, fast, athletic Oregon defense coming into town? And is it ever tough for you to evaluate progress, given that Penn State really hasn't faced a defense to date like the Ducks so far?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a great point, right? So Oregon's going to bring in, a very talented, stout defense. They're playing fast, they're playing well. The one thing I can say is that, you know, um, you can tell by how they're processing and and taking that into execution into practice that we are still leveling up in our preparation. There's no question about it. Now it's going to be faster junction points, faster reactions, better athletes out there. And so our running backs have to be clued into not just running back play, but the whole scheme from a pass and run standpoint. And I'm excited. I think that they're absolutely ready to go. There's no question about that. But to get them out there against a very talented Oregon um, football team is going to be very telling as to where we are in our development right now. And it's just hard for me to answer that question. I think the reality comes on Saturday. You know what I mean? And we got to be prepared to make whatever game day adjustments we need to be able to make. And I just think that, we are just we're a much smarter backfield that we'll be able to make those game day adjustments and not lose the speed of the game. And that's where I think that we're better at right now is they're understanding so much more than when I got here. So yeah, they're going to present some issues for us. Structure of defense is something that is very similar to ours in a lot of ways. So there's some carryover that we've been working on from the offseason all the way through the fall camp with Jim Knowles and his defense, which is really, really good. And we practice good on good. I gotta believe that, Penn State defense is pretty freaking good. I know the stats show it, but not looking at stats, we feel that in practice, and Coach Franklin does a phenomenal job of delegating certain periods to where we are good on good, so we don't get shocked by the speed or the junction point power that Oregon's going to bring to the table on Saturday.
Greg Pickle.
Morning, Coach. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Hope you're doing well too.
I am. Thank you.
Great. Could you please evaluate Cam Wallace through the first 3 weeks and the status of your RB3 competition overall?
Yeah, he's been solid. He's been solid. Obviously, he's coming off of, two major injuries to his lower legs from a year ago. So there's been some setbacks in terms of our preparation. Every now and again, that thing, tweaks on him. I think we've gone less and less from him having those episodes as we've gone through the season. He's getting more and more game ready from a physical standpoint that way. I love his mental preparation off the football field. He's very conscientious of how he learns and what he needs to get better at every single day. But there's a three-man competition at that spot. It's really running back number three by committee still. No one has taken the bull by the horns yet. And you know it's kind of tough when you got, Nick and Katron sitting in front of you, just to kind of sit there and prepare yourself to be ready to play when those two guys are going to complement each other, for the bulk of the game, but maturity is being ready when your number is called, right? And, I think those three guys have had situations with injuries that have taken that away from them from time to time. And however, I'm still waiting for someone to mature and take ownership of that. It's not just about what you could do on the field. I mean, they have different skill sets and some more favorable than others, but if there's not a mature mindset to the approach of the game, it's going to be tough for me to put them in the game. And they know that. I'm not trying to put that out there for negative press or anything like that, but I'm waiting for those three guys to grow up, just to be honest with you. I love them. There's a maturity that has to take place. And again, I understand how hard it is when you got two studs in front of you, but that can't be the mindset as we go into the season with the goals that we are trying to attain. They got to get game ready, and I'm just waiting for somebody to show me that they're willing to do that on a consistent basis.
Daniel Gallen.
Hey Stan, I appreciate your time this morning.
No problem, Daniel.
When you talk about Nick, you use the phrase that he's ready to cut it loose. I think James has said he needs to let it rip. As a coach, how do you, I guess, coach a player to do that? How do you get a player into that mindset right now?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of film that's very, very obvious to me as his coach and obvious to Nick that he's ready to cut it loose. And again, he has a coach who I understand what I put on his plate in the offseason. I do understand the progression of development when you're learning something new and trying to, put it into execution full speed. So I think he's right on track. I really do, and it's just a matter of, us practicing it enough to where he can just cut it loose in a game situation, and I'm starting to see less and less processing in practice, which means it's getting to instincts now. You know what I mean? All the things that we were taught, that we taught him in the off season is starting to get to his instincts. They're becoming his instincts. So I just think it's just a matter of him just feeling confident. And like I said, there's plenty of film that validate and gives him plenty of reason to be confident. He's prepared well over these last couple of weeks. He's a very, very talented individual, and they're in a blessed situation to be in a situation to complement each other the way they do. And I think he's ready. It's just a matter of time.
Time for three more. Mark Wogenrich.
Hey, Stan, thanks again for doing this today. I wanted to get your perspective on your time at Penn State so far. What has it been like for you to be in that building? What's it been like to work with Coach Franklin, and what's it been like to be on the sideline for Penn State games?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, just being here has been awesome. The experience has been phenomenal. The community absolutely is fanatical about their Penn State Nittany Lions. And, I can't catch an Uber or walk my dog in the neighborhood without somebody knowing who I am. That's been intriguing. In Philadelphia, they don't give a crap who you are, coming from Temple, but here they know exactly who you are. So that's been a little bit of an adjustment, but it's been all good, man. As far as in the building, this is a program that has been led by Coach Franklin for 12 years. Is that right? 12, 13 years or whatever it may be. And, they have a system and a culture of how they've done things, and I've had to adjust to that. And sometimes it feels like I'm swimming with a straw in deep water, but there's always people around me that are helping me get aligned with the culture, which is really, really cool. So I really enjoy the people that I work with every day. They're awesome people. We really are a great staff that way. A lot of camaraderie. But I'll tell you what, just being on the right side and in that stadium has been phenomenal. It's just the atmosphere is legit. It's big time. Um, People tell me that I hadn't seen nothing yet. When this whiteout takes place this Saturday. Um, I- but I have lived through two whiteouts. One wasn't very good in result. One was pretty good. But to be in blue and white is going to be a special day for me for sure. But no, I love this place.
Joel House.
Hey Stan, thanks for the time. Just wanted to kind of follow up on Nick and his progress. How have you seen him attack the bye week in terms of trying to get over those mental hurdles? What have you seen from him? How do you think he's improved throughout the bye week? And is there maybe an example that you can point to, something you saw at practice where you felt like he was kind of back in form?
No, so I wouldn't even call them mental issues. It's just a process. We're just going through a process of learning, and there's setbacks that come along with that. But there's nothing wrong with Nick mentally. He's always charged up, ready to go. I just think that he's paying close attention these last couple of weeks to his body, which is the right thing to do, making sure that he is getting the extra work with our strength staff, whether it be him working on some agility, mobility, flexibility. He is spending a ton of time watching film. He is a quick study that way in terms of, being able to diagnose the defenses from week to week, you know, um, and we've seen some really unconventional defenses. I think we can really look at the first few weeks of the season as something that's going to catapult us um, from a preparation standpoint for the rest of the season. And I think the more looks that we get at some of these unconventional things, the better we'll be. As far as our execution is concerned. But Nick's very intentional. Every day. He's going to come out with the right mindset. He's going to practice hard. I've never had to tell those guys to pick up the pace. I'm usually slowing somebody like Nick down to make sure that we are managing our power loads through the week so we can come to the game ready to go. So no, I think that Nick is going to be, just fine. I really do, and I don't see there's much wrong with him now, just knowing what is going through his mindset and the physical preparation as we move forward. He's going to be just fine.
Last question, Rich Scarcella.
Stan, you mentioned the whiteout. Can you describe to us what it's like to be a visiting team and coaching a visiting team in a whiteout and what problems it presents?
Well, it ain't quiet, that's for sure. You know what I mean? And in your prep, if you're coming to the whiteout, you absolutely have to, you know, um, create some crowd noise somehow, some way in practice every day, because this place gets deafening, especially when you're in the red zone or you're backed up. I mean, you it's hard to get your calls off, and you can get as tight as you want to in the huddle, but you really got to be laser-like focused uh, as an opponent walking into Beaver Stadium for sure. Yeah, there's an advantage that way. There's no question about it. Um, for Penn State, in my opinion, when you talk in terms of the whiteout. It was just an awesome experience. I mean, even coming in as an opponent, it's just one of those deals. Like if you're a big time football player, that's what you live for, and even if you're trying to be a big time coach, you love coaching in those environments. So whether you are on the right side or the wrong side, you're excited to get into that stadium and that atmosphere and get ready to play. It can motivate you or demotivate you or vice versa. But it's an exciting atmosphere, and I think that's why big time ball coaches, big time programs, big time football players embrace moments like a whiteout.